Oh yeah, 10 years. Okay, so I was partnered 1 year before they got banned. Short version, if you guys missed it or you guys did not know, these people were banned, what, 10 years ago? What is that what I just said? I can't remember. These people were all banned. Some people are still around. Some of these peeps are still around. Yeah, yeah. But the reason why it's like a big deal today is because Steel and Swag are getting unbanned. I don't know. I don't think everybody's getting unbanned. I think just Steel and Swag. I could be wrong. And if you guys don't know the history of this, I'll try to give you the abbreviated version. So some of these guys were involved with the fix, but they weren't the players. So the players were Daze, Swag, AZK, Steel, and then Ska was on the team but didn't accept the skin, so he never got banned. That's just the short version. They fixed a match. fl0m, why did they fix a match? Back in the day, there weren't salaries. iBUYPOWER back in the day was their computer sponsor and still obviously exists and is not my sponsor, funny enough. But they would pay for people to go to events, which back then was a big deal. Like, and this is also a good note. I mean, we'll just take the history of it a little bit. Now, if you qualify for an event, the tournament organizer pays for you to go. So like orgs don't even do that anymore. But back then, that was a huge deal. That is like, so that's how this kind of worked, is they were under their brand and they got paid like via travel, right? So but they didn't have salaries. So back in the day, these guys were actually insane, probably the best team in North America, specifically online. Not to say they're bad on land, but on land there was a couple teams that sometimes gave them trouble, but online these guys were for sure the number one team, and then on land they were pretty good. But when they went to EU for whatever reason, I feel like a couple other rosters did better than them internationally. It was a weird thing, but whatever, it's not that important to this. What is important, the reason why it happened, and I'll just kind of, this isn't an excuse. I'm just kind of telling you the sequence of events as to why these situations occur. This situation occurred because they weren't salaried. The tournament that they were playing in didn't matter anymore. They were playing a match. Sicko linked me this. I forgot that this was even a YouTube video still. They're playing a match for Sivo, and they had already made playoffs. Also, there was conflict of interest in this as well, but that's a whole nother thing. I think at the time, Dazed owned iBuy, or not iBUYPOWER, Netcode Guides. So basically, iBUYPOWER had just come back from Europe and they had lost, and they were playing in an online tournament in a match that quite literally meant nothing on season. So that's that kind of sets. This is, I'm just, once again, not an excuse. I'm just telling you, like, it is important context. So they came back, fixed this match, and ruined their careers for basically around $1,000 or less each. And that's because there was betting on a match that quite literally didn't matter. This was like a long season format, you know? So you had iBUYPOWER, who was already qualified to playoffs, and Netcode Guides, who I think if they won one more game were guaranteed as well. So that was, and then the reason why their punishment was kind of double harsh and some added context to it is, if you weren't around back then, basically Richard Lewis reported it, had the evidence, presented it, and then the players kind of doubled down, saying that he was full of shit. And then Valve investigated it, found that sure enough, Richard Lewis was absolutely telling the truth, and all of his evidence was correct. And so it was kind of like, I think, you know, this is me just like guessing, but I feel like they got a harsher punishment, especially because they kind of had a chance to just kind of own it, and instead they kind of, yeah, they tried to do, you know, no, we're not, you know, it was kind of a whole thing. Yeah, I don't want to misquote Richard, but I think Richard was even kind of like, with how harsh this punishment was. And I know some people like match fixing, blah, blah, blah. But even if you want to say they deserved it, that's fine. But guess what? People match fixed after them and only got like 2 years. So, you know, you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at Valve. Because, you know, I still think the biggest takeaway that people fail to understand from this isn't that, like, this stuff is going to happen and harsh punishments are sometimes valid, but also they don't prevent it from happening in the future if people just think they can get away with it. And a great example of people getting away with it without, you know, naming names and making it, oh, you know, let's be honest, we all know people match fixed in Counter-Strike in North America for the MDL matches. Then after they match fixed and made a bunch of money on like a bunch of shady crypto sites, they went and played Valorant. So like it definitely still happens, and banning people for, you know, indefinite periods of time didn't really solve the problem. That's really what I've learned from all of this. Like this is like, as an adult, like, what I learned from this situation is that, like, it just doesn't matter if people think they can get away with it, they're going to do it. So you have to constantly be in pursuit of it, and banning somebody for a long period of time, it doesn't compute because they just think they can get away with it. Now, to be more positive about all this, I think I'm really happy to have Steel back because I think even if you dislike the guy, if you've ever watched him talk about Counter Strike, how much he still engages with Counter Strike, wants to participate, makes content around the game, I think there's no denying that I think he actually has like a lot of regret and is, he's tried to make up for it. As I don't really know how you make up for it, but I think he has good intentions. I'm happy to have him back. He's going to be casting, I think, and being an analyst in Katowice as well. And yeah, the reason this is a big deal for Steel is he can now, if he wants to, because I think he has real, like, what's the right word I'm looking for? He wants to do more work on like production and stuff, and like as an analyst, so he can actually work the major now. It was kind of ironic that they banned iBUYPOWER for an example, and then the whole NA scene for a year match fixing was, yeah, I mean, no, exactly. That's my point. Is like, it's not that I think like they shouldn't have been punished. It's just like in hindsight and like seeing how all this unfolds and then starting to realize like how people really act to certain things is like, this type of stuff was probably at the time it felt right, and then over time you're just kind of like, this didn't really do anything. Like if we don't follow it up with anything, it just kind of doesn't matter, right? So but like I said, I still kind of firmly believe that the reason they got like a harsher punishment, even, and there were other people at this time, by the way, very famous players, much more famous than these guys, that there was a couple interesting things where they could have been banned and didn't get banned. I feel like it's because they really started to push back and almost go on the attack when they got caught. All it did was teach people how to get away with it. Yeah. I mean, not wrong. But yeah, I think so. Swag and Steel are unbanned. No shade to Swag. I've just seen a lot more of Steel around in different capacities. I don't know. Is Swag streaming CS? Yeah, he's playing often. That's cool. I haven't really caught too much of his streams. He asked me to pug every once in a while, and then like usually he's like on for a little bit and he's not on again. So I don't know. And to my knowledge, I don't think any of the others are unbanned. Do I think Swag will come back in some form? Hard to say, man. I would assume not, but I don't want to assume other people's motivations and like what they want to pursue. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it all comes down to motivation,